Hi gang, welcome. So now we're going to take another pass at explaining open awareness or giving a set of instruction. So the first one was don't do anything. Simple. Second was just be at ease with everything. Simple. And this one, a little bit more thinky, but we'll see how it goes. This time, we're going to be doing a sort of instruction called rest with what couldn't be otherwise. So the idea is that you recognize that in a lot of ways, if you'd like, a lot of things couldn't be otherwise. The sounds that are going on in your environment, they just couldn't be different, you know? Not, maybe they could be if you did something about them, but for right now, we're just going to relax and with the gentle hum and buzz of the universe, as Alan Watts might say. And we're going to realize that who we are, who our friends are, what thoughts we have, what emotions we have, are just deeply out of our control in some sense. We didn't choose to be born. We didn't choose our caretakers. We didn't choose our genetics. We didn't choose our environment. We didn't choose the general circumstances of life. And sort of we have a deep recognition that a lot of what comes up just couldn't have been otherwise. And this can lead to a deep relaxation of like, everything is just, how it should be. So the idea, here we go. So it'll be something like sit down on your meditation cushion and relax. You can say an intention like, may this practice benefit me and may benefit all beings. And then just rest. And you can say something to yourself like, may I just rest with what couldn't have been otherwise. Just let go of the sense of control you have over the mind, over the world. And notice that, in some senses, it couldn't have been otherwise. If you have strong emotions, you might judge yourself for them, or you might try to push them away. But you might just recognize that those emotions have their precursors. Something happened in life or in your mind or so as you slept, and now an emotion's coming up. And in a sense, it couldn't have been otherwise. And that leads to a lack of pushing and pulling against it. And every thought that comes up is not a problem because it couldn't have been otherwise. Every distraction, what were you supposed to do, not get distracted? How could that be so? So, just sit there and rest with what couldn't be otherwise. A lot of times we have this sense that, oh, this day could be going better. My love life could be better. My body could feel better. But we can use this practice as an invitation to notice that there is just a hum and buzz of life. We suffer, we flourish, we have gains and losses. And they all come in time, like seasons. In some senses, we can think of them like seasons. Out of our control. Sometimes you might be walking around in autumn. And you might love autumn. You might hate autumn. And if you hate autumn, you might think, I wish this weren't happening. I wish it were otherwise. And this might cause pain and suffering in the mind. But if one took a different look at autumn and thought, I'm just going to rest with autumn because it couldn't be otherwise. There are cycles to this life, and I'm riding whatever cycle I'm on right now. And I don't have control over the cycles. I live on an earth which is spinning and revolving around a star in a galaxy so large and vast it's impossible to think about accurately. And we are made of stardust. We are made of the same elements, same basic particles that almost all of the matter in the universe is made of. And we didn't choose this matter, and it just sort of collected on a ball and in our solar system at one point. And then asteroids hit it, and it was very hot for a long time, and then single-celled organisms appeared, and even pre-single-celled organisms. And they started to eat each other, and they started to replicate, and they started to protect their replicating parts, and then they started to get bigger and more complex over billions and billions of years of rotating and revolving, and they started to breathe, and they started to go onto land, and then those land creatures kept evolving, and selective pressures came up, and the world went through ice ages, and it went through heat waves, and it went through near extinctions of asteroids came, volcanoes erupted, and this life just died and rebirthed itself, and somehow kept struggling on. And then at some point the primates from Africa started to become smarter and smarter, and they were able to represent maps of the world much better than any other sort of creature. And then they were able to use those maps of cognition to study their world and to have, in a sense, like more ways of working in the world. And then hundreds of generations of those people met and had children and lived and died and suffered and breathed. And now we live in a society of 8 billion people all waking up at different times in the day and going throughout their days and thinking different thoughts and creating art and suffering and flourishing, and you're just a part of this. You are the little part of the ocean, and everything that comes up in your mind is deeply related to this deep context. And in a lot of ways, you didn't have any control over any of that. And now you live with the fruits of that process. And so you can just recognize everything coming up, every thought you have, every emotion you have, as part of a process of which you are just a small part. And you don't need to try to do or control it. You can just rest in this beautiful and terrible world, and rest with what could not be otherwise. The world as it is. So that's our third path.